In Lebanon, the government condemned an Israeli cyber attack that targeted citizens' pagers, leaving 8 dead and over 2,700 others wounded, 200 of them in critical conditions. The last 24 hours alone, Israel has committed 3 massacres in the Gaza Strip, killing 26 people and injuring 84 others. And the government of Venezuela reported that it seized a new illegal shipment of arms from the United States. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Lebanon on Tuesday, 8 people have reportedly died and a large number were injured as a result of the explosion of wireless devices in several regions of the country. Preliminary reports indicate that the cyber attack managed to hack into message receiving devices known as pagers, which exploded almost simultaneously, injuring in possession of the equipment. The Lebanese Minister of Health, Firas Al-Abiad, stated that the number of wounded amounts to more than 2,700, with 200 critical cases being treated in 100 hospitals. Al-Abiad called on all citizens with wireless communication devices to stay away from them. In an initial statement, the Lebanese resistance movement Hezbollah informed that their agencies are conducting an extensive scientific and security investigation to discover the reasons that led to the simultaneous explosions. Meanwhile, the Minister of Information of Lebanon, Ziad Makari, has called the attack an Israeli aggression. Palestine authorities announced that in the last 24 hours alone, Israel has committed 3 massacres in the Gaza Strip, killing 26 people and injuring 84. At least 4 people, including a child, were killed by shelling by the occupation army on Tuesday morning on homes in the Bureij refugee camp, while some 30 civilians were left buried under the rubble. According to civil defense rescue teams, it was a twofold attack that struck firstly on a block of houses and secondly on emergency teams searching through the rubble. The death toll of the genocide launched by Israel on October 7th has increased to more than 41,000 victims, most of them children and women, while more than 95,000 Palestinians have been wounded. Palestinian aid groups say Israel is preventing 83% of food aid from reaching Gaza. A group of 15 aid organizations declared in a joint statement that the people of Gaza are only eating an average of 1 meal a day because the Israeli military is blocking 83% of the food needed to reach the besieged enclave. They added that the amount of aid blocked by Israel has increased substantially since 2023, when only 34% of food aid was blocked. The director of the Palestinian NGO network, Amjad Al-Shawa, said in the statement that 100% of Gaza's population is now dependent on aid, and the shortages mean that people are starving. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres condemned Israel's collective punishment of the Palestinian people in Gaza.
Well, it is unimaginable. The level of suffering in Gaza, the level of death and destruction, have no parallel in everything I've witnessed since I am Secretary General. Obviously, we all condemn the terror attacks made by Hamas, as well as the taking of hostages. That is an absolute violation of international humanitarian law. But the truth is that nothing justifies the collective punishment of the Palestinian people. And that is what we are witnessing in a dramatic way.
In turn, the UN Special Rapporteur on the rights situation in the occupied Palestinian territory, Francesca Albanese, said that Israel has become a pariah and suggested that the country's membership in the UN should be questioned.
Unavoidable for Israel to become a pariah in the face of its continuous, relentless, vilifying assault on the United Nations, on top of millions of Palestinians. But this year, the UN Secretary General, the General Assembly, the Human Rights Council have been constantly vilified. Not that it has not happened before, but never with this intensity.
Let's take now a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. During the podcast Con Maduro Más, the government of Venezuela reported that it seized a new illegal shipment of arms from the United States. During a dialogue between the Minister of Interior Diosdado Cabello and the Venezuelan head of state Nicolás Maduro, informed that on Monday a new seizure of U.S. armament was made in the country, which was introduced by the CIA prior to the elections held on July 28th. In this regard, President Maduro blamed the CIA for including fugitives from the Venezuelan justice in destabilizing acts against the country.
Today, I was informing the President. All these weapons come from the United States. All of them. Today, thanks to the intelligence work, at this moment before the program, right, President? Before the program, in a place in Venezuela, we made a new seizure of weapons. It is in full swing.
It is in full development. At this time that you see me, the intelligence and protection security forces are acting so that peace and tranquility continue to reign in Venezuela. Because Madeleine asks and I answer. What would have happened? We would have fought, we would have triumphed, and perhaps they would not have been arrested. Maybe they would have been killed by the patriotic fire of the Bolivarian National Armed Forces, the Bolivarian National Police, the Bolivarian National Intelligence Service, the Military Counterintelligence General Directorate, because Venezuela has military, police, and security forces to defend it. It has people to defend it. That is what they cannot understand.
The Venezuelan head of state also explained that the seized armament is the official weaponry of the Navy SEALs, for which he blamed the CIA for introducing it into the country to perpetrate terrorist actions.
Este fusil que está aquí es un fusil de asalto de alto nivel. Esta punta que está aquí.
This rifle that is here is an assault rifle, high level. This tip here is to put an air suppressor, which is a silencer. It has a telescopic sight, medium range. It is an assault rifle built for the United States military forces, for the exclusive use of the United States military forces. It is forbidden to be traded and sold, because it is for the exclusive use of the United States military forces. Like this one, we have several rifles. Exporter, and here is the caliber 7.62 by 39, and here's the serial number. I reserved the serial number. The United States government knows that we have this rifle and other armament, which was introduced by the CIA to Venezuela for terrorist attacks, requested by fascism in Venezuela. You can see here restricted government of the United States.
And it is important, Mr. President, that it be known that this is the official weapon of the Navy SEALs. It is the official weapon of the Navy SEALs, not of the commandos. And it is precisely Mr. Castañeda, an active U.S. military officer, who is in charge of this operation.
In this sense, the Venezuelan president pointed out that the U.S. government is clearly violating international law, and specifically the founding charter of the United Nations for its criminal actions against Venezuela.
Because all these sectors that call for violence, for civil war, for invasion, for assassination in Venezuela are protected in territory of the United States, which clearly violates international law. and specially violate the founding charter of the United Nations. At this moment, the government of the United States is openly violating the charter of the United Nations for its actions of instigating violence in Venezuela.
In Colombia, through an agreement between the Reparation Fund of the Victims Unit and the National Land Agency, victims of paramilitarism will receive 18,000 hectares to repair the damage they have suffered. According to Lilia Solano, director of the Victims Unit, and Felipe Harman, director of the National Land Agency, the FRV will receive an amount of more than $175 billion, which will make possible the distribution of the victims' resources in the purchase of the land destined to repair the community. For his part, Felipe Harman pointed out that this is the first time that the agency makes a massive purchase from the FRB, and that this is thanks to the political will of both administrations to break down the institutional barriers that prevented the implementation of the agreement. More than 100 indigenous leaders gathered in the town of Curare in the Sicilian mountain range to discuss in what serves as the first International Congress of Indigenous Conservation Territories. Indigenous leaders from territories such as the Arawak of Sierra Nevada in Colombia, the Shuar of the Ecuadorian Amazon, the Huachiperi of Peru, the Aymara of the Andean Highlands, as well as representatives from different territories of the Mapuche people, met to discuss common solutions to shared problems. The Congress also focused on community life, a fundamental characteristic of indigenous peoples undermined by extractivist capitalism. And in Argentina, thousands of students marched on Monday during the 48th anniversary of La Noche de los Lápices, in English, the Night of the Pencils. The mobilization this Monday was attended by young people, human rights organizations, and political entities, honoring the victims of the Night of the Pencils, when a group of students were kidnapped on September 16, 1976, by police and army officers in Buenos Aires. The demonstration took place after the head of state introduced a budget bill to cut the 2025 investment in science, technology, and education. Protesters demanded the president not to veto the education funding bill. Likewise, they claimed for the continuity of the memory policies. We now have a second short break coming up, but before, we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. The French National Assembly approved to debate the impeachment motion of President Emmanuel Macron presented by the left-wing party La France Insoumise. The action was approved with 12 votes in favor and 10 against. The initiative has the support of 81 lawmakers and more than 300,000 signatures. This is in view of the failure of the French president to elect a prime minister, bypassing the popular vote, which gave the majority of the seats to the left-wing parties. In this context, the Socialist Party agreed to promote the study of the impeachment, which, if carried out, would mark the end of President Macron's administration. In this context, the leader of France Insoumise, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, had this to say on X: "The debate of the impeachment motion of Macron is approved. Where there is a will, there is a way. And now, action. Eric Coquerel is going to fetch the budget documents hidden at Matignon, and on September 24th, rally with the youth for Macron's impeachment." Also in France, in the port city of Calais, a vigil was held to pay tribute to the 8 migrants who died on Sunday while trying to cross the English Channel. Regional Prefect Jacques Billon said the incident occurred around 1 a.m. local time in waters off the coast of the northern city of Ambleteuse. The official stated that the vessel was carrying approximately 60 people from countries such as Egypt, Sudan, Syria, Afghanistan, and Iran, and capsized due to the large number of people being transported. So far this year, 46 migrants have lost their lives trying to reach British shores. Meanwhile, in the United States, former President Donald Trump was unharmed after an apparent assassination attempt on Sunday in West Palm Beach, Florida, while playing on a golf course near his private club. Ryan Wesley Routh, a 58-year-old man, was arrested after being discovered with a rifle near the course. Routh had been camping in the area for more than 12 hours before he was identified by the Secret Service. Authorities noted that despite being armed and concealed in nearby vegetation, Routh did not have a direct line of sight to Trump at the time of the incident. A Secret Service agent detected the weapon and fired at the suspect, who was captured shortly thereafter in a neighboring county. Hong Kong's chief executive John Lee Ka-chiu condemned on Tuesday the recent legal actions of the U.S. government that intend to close the 3 economic and trade offices the city has in the North American nation. The remarks come after the bipartisan Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office Certification Act got passed last week by the U.S. House of Representatives as part of a series of China-related proposals being scrutinized. In this context, Lee stated that the punitive bill is part of Washington's political tactics aimed at suppressing Hong Kong's development. Furthermore, the Asian leader warned that businesses in the Western nation will suffer if the government adopts the bill. The Special Administrative Region of China currently has 14 economic and trade offices overseas.
I strongly condemn the U.S. House of Representatives for making use of the so-called Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office Certification Act to slander the Hong Kong laws on safeguarding national security and also smear the human rights situation in Hong Kong. These are political tactics to suppress the development of China and also Hong Kong. These are shameless and ugly political tactics.
And the Meta Corporation announced on Monday the blocking on its platforms of Russia Today accounts and other related entities. According to the statement, Russia Today and other related entities are now banned on apps such as Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Threads, alleging foreign interference activity. Previously, Washington had accused Russia Today of supposed connections to Russian intelligence services. Special Representative of the U.S. State Department, James Rubin, indicated that the new sanctions against Russia Today will be the toughest possible. For her part, the spokeswoman of the Russian Foreign Ministry, Maria Zakharova, denounced that Russian journalists have been the object of real terrorist information attacks by the United States. Meanwhile, Russian authorities point out that the coercive measures imposed by the West led to an increase in the volume of business with the countries of the BRICS group. This was reported by the director of the Trade Negotiations Department of the Ministry of Economic Development of Russia, Ekaterina Mayrova. In an interview with Sputnik News, the official explained that sanctions against Russia as a result of the military operation in Ukraine have led to restrictions in trade with the Western Bloc countries. On the other hand, the data showed the increase of trade relations with the BRICS countries. This alliance accounts for almost half of the world's population, 40% of the global oil production, and about 25% of the export of goods. The World Meteorological Organization, along with the United Nations for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, issued warnings as chances are higher than 60% of facing La Niña weather phenomenon from September 2024 to January 2025. During La Niña, trade winds are stronger, bringing cold, nutrient-rich water off the west coast of the Americas. This phenomenon triggers droughts in the southern countries such as Brazil, Paraguay, Bolivia, Argentina, that burst wildfires as they face the lowest level water records in the Amazon, Paraná, and Paraguay rivers. In addition, floods are also expected as they are already occurring in Thailand, Myanmar, Austria, among other countries. These weather conditions hit crops, livelihoods, and increased viruses stem from mosquitoes. And in the world of sports, football's best club competition returns this week to 12 countries across Europe.
3 months after winning a record 15th Champions League title, Real Madrid returned to the competition with their eyes fully on the prize and the expectation that they can extend the feeling of inevitability that dominated last season's run to the podium for another year. Expectations are high on the reigning champions not only because of last season's triumph but because they ushered in a new era of the Galacticos by signing Kylian Mbappé over the summer, adding him to an already high-profile attack that includes Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, and Jude Bellingham. The new Champions League format will take center stage on Tuesday as the league phase replaces the group stage, a change designed in part to deliver more competitive matchups earlier in the competition. At first glance, the fixture list on Matchday 1 will deliver just that with a handful of much-anticipated games, including Liverpool's trip to AC Milan on Tuesday. The game marks Liverpool's return to the competition after a year in the UEFA Europa League and more notably, their first European game under new manager Arne Slot.
We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.